You're listening to Life and Shit. I'm Danielle Walker.
And I'm Tommy Walker.
Join us as we talk about our journey overcoming fears, boundaries, marriage, family, lifestyle, business, and whatever other shit you can think of.
We're individuals that came together to create one unit with one mind and one goal. What's up, baby? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent. I got a question for you. Whose family is the most dysfunctional?
The most dysfunctional
Yes.
of either one of our families.
Either one of ours, yours or mine.
It's definitely going to be both of them. I couldn't even begin to tell you who is more dysfunctional.
I was prepared for you to say my family was more dysfunctional than yours, but okay, I'll definitely take that.
Why? Why were you prepared for that?
Because, when we think about uncles and cousins, every family has, like we always laugh, every family has the uncle that does blank. You fill in the blank. You have a cousin that does blank. Fill in the blank. I just feel like I got more uncles and cousins that do blank.
I think we equally have the uncle that drinks too much and always passes out at the party. We have the uncle that does drugs, and we all know who that uncle is. We have the uncle who thinks he's still got it, that he's young, he got all the girls, or
still dresses like from that decade. Yes, okay.
Yep. So from when you remember when you were young, it's like he never changed. So I think we still have those same uncles. I think we have those uncles.
Yeah, and then too, I grew up. I would really say I grew up as a man on the West Coast, but growing up as a kid on the East Coast, we were stable. Like our family was. I came from a family, parents that divorced after so many years or whatever. But we lived in the same house, and we had established a relationship in the neighborhood. I went to schools that my dad went to. The teachers knew who he was. They knew who I was. They knew the entire family. Like that was that's what to me was. A stable dysfunctional family because it was natural, right? It was what you expected in the black community as a kid growing up in the hood. My parents don't live together. My parents are separated. That was a typical thing for some friends that actually had both their parents. We would look at them like, wow, both of your parents live in a house?
Right. And then, the flip side of that is, well, not only was I on another coast, I was on the West Coast, and that's pretty much where I grew up, and then spent a little bit of time in the Midwest and then came back over to the West, right? But in that, the biggest difference is one, you at least knew who your dad was. I never even seen my dad. I never even met my dad. So to me, that's the first part of my dysfunction.
Yeah, and you know what? And I'm glad you said that because I honestly, I couldn't fathom that, right? So growing up, you've discussed this before, you never, like to even say that you've never known your biological father, but you had a man that was in place, that gave birth to your brother and sisters.
Right. I had a stepfather that yes. Basically.
Yeah. And
it's totally different because he was a white man and my brothers and sisters are all mixed. So that was just a totally different experience growing up. Friends would be like, that's your dad? Like, well, yeah, that is my dad because that was the only dad that I knew. So that was different. It was very different for me growing up. And then my mom, after she had 4 kids by him, they divorced, and then that was the typical story. So perhaps had she stayed with my dad, then that would have been my story. But then it's my brothers and sisters' story, right? Because they do know their dad and they did have time with him. And, he was a father figure to me at that time. But once they split, then my mom was basically a single mom and we moved around a lot. So her roots weren't like dug into LA. She was more from Santa Barbara. So we didn't know anyone. We didn't have any people around or, neighbors that knew neighbors or like friends that were always friends. We had family, but even limited family because of how much we moved around. I went to maybe, I say 4 elementary schools, and one I went to twice. So I went for 2nd grade, and then I went back again in like the 3rd or 4th grade, which was like, oh, you're back.
welcome back.
Yeah.
You have the same desk.
Yeah. You're like the new old kid.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we know her.
You don't even get the tour.
Yeah.
You know everything. It's all right.
You've been here before. So growing up for me was a lot different. I know a lot of people up and down this coast, but I don't know a lot of people closely because of that. I didn't get to build a lot of roots, and forever my mom was the type of person who moved away. I never really understood it then. I don't know that I can fully understand it now, but I do know that she taught me not to I would say hold on to things and to be able to let go of things. We moved a lot, so it wasn't always because we wanted to move. So sometimes it was like, hey, take what you guys can or we gotta leave, you know. So I have no problem at all if we were to just uproot, to move, to go different places. I'm not afraid, and I think that came from that.
You know, and it's funny that we use the term dysfunctional, because dysfunctional means, not operating normally, right? But that was normal for us. But, we make fun of it because our friends or maybe somebody we ran into, or even what we see on TV. It's the proposed ideal family on TV is what makes us say, oh, well, our family must be dysfunctional, you know what I mean? Because they broke up, or because, we had a step parent and we have biracial children and or biracial siblings and things like that, or because of where we come from. It's like everybody was dysfunctional, but we operated normally. It was tribal, right? It was just how we rolled.
That's
you know what
true.
I mean? So, and if you look at, like you said, all of our uncles and cousins that fill in the blank, you know what I mean? Like I got an uncle that is very mean. And everybody in the family knows who he is. As soon as I say that, they know exactly, because we haven't seen him in 20 years, right? He hibernates in the cave, and we haven't seen him. He hasn't come out that cave in 20 years, but we hear he's still around, and it's just funny to be able to laugh at it. But I got to talk about your family, because my whole adult life has been around your family, from your cousins that you call uncles, your uncles that look like, I was like, hold up. Whose brother is that? Oh no, that's such and such son who was married to such and such. So therefore, that's uncle. I'm like, no, that's your cousin.
So
that doesn't even make sense.
Every time someone new comes into the family, we always, I literally just had this conversation the last event that we were at, and I believe it was a bridal shower. And it's like, so how are all of you guys related again? And how does this work? And it's like, okay, they're all cousins, and their mother is our mother's sister, and this and this and that.
So that's what makes y'all the most dysfunctional, is because it sound like some crazy incest shit going on.
It's not. It's just a bunch of cousins and a bunch
Because everybody is uncles and aunts. Nobody had cousin babies. Like in my family, we at least know your first, second, third generation of cousin. We don't look at what's up, nephew, homie. We cousins.
Well, growing up, our mom, of course, our parents, they hung out with their first cousins, and they were all the same age, and they were pretty close. We only had 2 aunts, and we had 3 uncles, and so we had all of them, though, so it wasn't a ton of aunties, but it always felt like it was a ton of aunties, because they always acted like, and they were very much like aunties. They all acted the same. So we all just got into the habit of just saying auntie, 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 and that's just the way it was. Once we all grew up, we realized, oh wait, we're not aunties. They're not aunties.
and I think it was me dissecting, like, all right, I got to look at how this is built, because if I'm married into this family, I got to be able to explain it.
Yeah.
And then I want because then our kids looking at us like, well, who is that? And it's like, well, technically that's your cousin, but the way they operate. I was like, well, is this their way of controlling us? It's like, because you're older, like, I got to call you uncle and respect the throne of uncleism.
Oh man, that's too funny. And you know, what's even more funnier is that when my brothers and sisters, when they found out, well, they knew already that that's not our uncle. We should call them aunt. We should call them cousins, or we shouldn't call them aunt. They were kind of upset. Like, I still want to call them aunt. I felt like they were my aunt. They were very offended whole by time, that. And well, that's what you want to do. That's what you want to do. But so it was. They didn't demand that reverence, but we gave it to them. And even as cousins, I feel it's just because the name changed doesn't mean that I look at them or view them any different. Yes, an aunt is an aunt. You're my mom's sister. That is different. But if you grew up in that capacity that you did, has the older relative that had my back much like an aunt, then I don't see any difference.
I guess because we don't have that. Like, we don't have cousins calling us uncles or calling you aunt.
It's true.
Like, my nieces and nephews are my nieces and nephews, and my cousins, you know, like, nobody's close in age, except I do have an aunt that's younger than me.
Yeah. Oh no. Now that's that.
I got
your
two.
Family is like.
I got two of them. Yeah. That tells you a lot about my grandparents, and they're still alive. So I got two aunts that are younger than me. So my grandparents, you know.
Yeah, and
I applaud them.
Yeah, seriously. That's another difference between our families. We don't have a grandfather, a grandmother, per se on our side. We had a father figure who just passed away, rest in peace. But like prior to that, I mean, and even then, you know, he kind of was kind of stuck to the side, and he had his own thing going on. But there, as far as us, my mom and what we had, we didn't have a grandma. I've never called anyone grandma until I met your grandma, and she embraced me fully, and I've loved it. Your father, I had my stepfather experience, but that once it turned raw, or you know, it got weird, and you know, it just wasn't the same. Mm-hmm. I don't know, but to have your dad, and he just really showed me genuine love and what a dad is really like, just watching him interact with you and your sister and your brothers.
See, you got the better version of him. He's like, you got like the grandpa version of my father. You know, it's just like my mother. Like when you first met my mother.
Oh man,
what was that like? Because that was the question, of like, or not even a question, the advice that you received.
Yes. Yeah, well, when I first met your mom, that was different because everyone was saying that she was very, very mean. And that's like, you know how some people have the mean aunt, or so I guess your mom was probably the mean aunt in the family. I have an aunt that's the mean aunt, and I won't say who she is, but
I can't even. You got a mean aunt?
You don't know who's the mean aunt? People mad now.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think I just figured it out. Love you, auntie.
So Mom Dukes was the mean one. They said, they're like, hey, you got to watch what you say around her. You got to watch what you do, and you know, you can't be a certain way, and it's gonna be rough, and you know, it's okay. But the best advice I'd ever gotten was someone told me to just be myself, and I was thinking like, oh, like shit, that's all I can be is myself, because here I was building up this different person, this different persona. You know, like I love your son, and I love his kids, and I love my kids, and we're a family.
Oh man, if you'd have came in like that, I'd have been like, I don't know who she is. Danielle, but you know, I left Danielle at the airport.
It's like you built this person that I want her to like, you know. So that's what, you know, you just, it's like I want her to like me, so I'm not gonna say anything wrong. But when I met her, I was just myself, and she was very easy to talk to, and nothing to me like what everyone had said. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I did see some of it. I know Mom Dukes, and she does not play. So perhaps it was just something, maybe because I was myself, is what she saw, and from there we hit it off. So I don't have a monster-in-law, and I'm forever grateful for that. I love you, Mom Dukes.
That's very true. I think both of us is in a very unique situation as far as our in-laws go, as you know, weird situations that we've had with our families. And I'm not going to use the word dysfunctional. I wanted to start with that because dysfunctional again means not being normal or not being operate the way, but we operated totally fine. Mm-hmm. Right. One thing I noticed in your family, there's no hierarchy, right? In my family, you know, I'm used to hierarchy, like just like how we talked about with cousins and uncles and all that. And as you said, you know, there was no grandparents. So in our family, my grandmother, who on my dad's side, that was her and Pop. You know, that was the hierarchy, and then from there it was the uncles and uncles. I mean, I grew up with nothing but men around me. That broke down to the older cousins, and you know, you test the older cousins. You're like, all right, which one's the strong ones? I had a cousin that went to the Navy, and I was like, man, he's the strong one. We don't fuck with him. Everybody. And then I had a cousin that was in the streets, and it's like, all right, he's the gangster. We ain't gonna fuck with him either. But then all the cousins that grew up with me like brothers and sisters, you know, we fought. We literally grew up like brothers and sisters.
Right. Right.
But, you know, actually, so I go back to, I do have cousins that I grew up with, but I don't tell my kids to call them uncle. Like my uncle, like my cousin Jonathan, for instance, you know, shout out to Jonathan. We used to call him Bean back in the days. So I wouldn't tell my son, yo, call him Uncle Bean. You know what I mean?
First off, he would hate that.
Oh, he probably would text me right now and be like, yo, why'd you even say that?
Yeah, probably gonna text you.
But the hierarchy in your family was something that that I was not used to.
Right.
Coming in.
And then yes, in the beginning there was this hierarchy, but it was women. It was women because there was my grandma, but she left at an early time in her kids' life as well as our life. So that's why I never knew her. I met her once, but I was young. And then her sister, which is all my cousins' mother, but she was, you know, like the big mama back in the days. So we all went to her house. Any activities were always at her house, but she had passed by the time you came. So by the time you came into our family, it was very weird. You're right, because there was the aunts that were trying to be the big aunts, but then there was the cousins that was like, we don't care if you're an aunt. Yeah, we're still, you know, we're still as old as you. So, and that was our mom. And, you know, so everyone was kind of trying to be that matriarch. And no one really kind of was. Understood. Everyone was still trying to just be still.
Yeah, I definitely see that, because I remember the first time I met your family, I broke my ankle from work. Right. So, and we're meeting in the park. It was a family reunion. It was like a gathering. I don't know if it was a reunion, but it was a gathering in the park. Yeah. And so I'm up there with, you know, basically I'm half a man. Because I ain't got both my legs. Everybody look at me like, who's this weak dude, right? So just like how you said, meeting my mother for the first time, you got this perception, and I'm going up here in the stories that I heard about your family. I'm like, oh man, this West Coast family from LA. Like, oh my gosh, like am I wearing the right colors? That's the first thing. You know, I'm gonna wear green. I'm gonna go up there and I'm gonna look like a tree. We'll wear brown and green. In New York, we call it beef and broccoli. So I'm gonna be up there on my beef and broccolis because I ain't want to piss nobody off. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm from the East Coast. I heard a lot of things. I've seen a lot of movies.
That's so funny.
I didn't want to piss nobody off. And then I meet everybody, and everybody was like teddy bears. It was like cool. I was like, man, I love you all. Yeah. So it was. So the stories that you hear is always a perspective of somebody else, right? Yes. And I guess it's to rile you up a little bit, to make you feel some kind of way, so you don't mess up. I don't know what it is, but at the end of the day, you know, it's when they bring you in with that love, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have, and in order to when you have a blended family like that, you know, because not only did we just get together, but then we brought our kids together, and then, you know, so again, we talk about our two older daughters coming in and at the same time meeting a whole family on the East Coast. I have a quote here talking about blended families. Blended families woven together by choice. We made that choice. Strengthened together by love. Tested by everything. And each uniquely ours. That's pretty dope.
Yeah, that is.
And it brings me back to, you know, bringing our families together and then going through the motions of testing our strength and having embarrassing moments. I know I got a few embarrassing moments with your family. And when I say embarrassing moments, I mean like me. I was the one embarrassed. You know what I mean? But your family held me down like 1,000%. Like I remember one time we hanging out in Long Beach, and I go and hang out with your cousin's boyfriend, and he's from New York. and we having a great time. So you know, right off the back, when you're hanging out with family, the first thing is like, I don't have nobody here that I can relate to, right? I'm from New York. Everybody's here from the West Coast. So
we're all family.
Yeah, but we're all family. I'm like, yeah, they're all the same blood. So I'm already feeling kind of different. I meet this dude. He's literally from the same neighborhood that I grew up in. I'm like, yo, this is it. Come on, bro. Let's have a good time together. That was my one moment. And we had too much of a good time.
Yeah, you guys did.
Way too much of a good time. Found myself on the living room floor, throwing up everywhere.
I feel like he rolled you up the hill and threw you out and then just rolled down the hill. I was like, what is that? Oh, that's Tommy.
That's exactly what happened. I made
embarrassing. It's like for you, but also for me.
Yeah. You're looking at me on the living room floor, in the middle of the living room floor, throwing up. I was hemorrhaging. Like I don't know what the hell I was doing. I poisoned myself. But it was a good time.
And my family was so cool about it. They were just like, all right, get the bag of rags, my aunt says.
No.
Get the bag of rags, throw those on them. And they're like, shoop. Yes, they stripped him. But
your family had, like, it was like an evacuation plan.
Like this has happened before.
Yeah, exactly. Like they knew exactly what to do. And I mean, the response was like impeccable. I was like, holy shit. In my fadedness, I was like, they really know what's happening. Like they're taking care of me. I'm laying on the floor, and I woke up the next day just golden.
Oh, that's funny.
Looking around like, okay. First of all, want to say thank you. Second of all, my bad. But you know what? I love you all. And that was our true, like, at that moment, I was like, yo, I'm in. I think I made it. Any embarrassing moments you could think of
that I had with your family?
You can't.
Let's see. But the difference is that the only time we generally go and visit your family is when it's a vacation, or not even vacation. It's a holiday, or it's a birthday, or
it's a special event, celebration.
Or someone's passed away. So it's usually good times. We usually have a really good time. But I don't know if I had any embarrassing, at least not that I remember.
Yeah, you know what? That's probably true because I spend more time with your family. Mm-hmm. So that's why I know them very well. Mm-hmm. And we all have our own relationship. Like from the youngest to the oldest, we have our own relationship that we've established over the last 16 years, and it's cool. Like I really enjoy it. And I could tell you so many stories about my experience with them, and that's why I'd be like, your family, they a trip, they a trip. I mean, from the jokes to the backyard boogies, like everything is truly a trip. But I enjoy it. I do enjoy it. One of the things I really enjoy the most is being able to communicate with my in-laws. As myself, you know what I mean? I know it is difficult when you meet, somebody's family, because what if we didn't get along?
True.
What would that look like?
Very true.
What if my mother-in-law didn't like me?
Yeah, it's true.
What if she thought I was an asshole? Or she probably do think I'm an asshole, but I don't think she does. Yeah, I didn't hear you. But, you said that real low.
She does. No, I do. I remember a time when I can't recall why I was mad at you, but I was pissed, and I had went to her room, and I sat and I talked with her, and I was having a glass of wine, and I was going on and on and on, and then she's like, well, you knew he was an asshole and you married him. She said it just like that, like da-da-da-da.
Real nonchalant.
Let's finish watching this show. What?
So it could have went another way, and I'm sure there's people out there who don't have the best relationship with their in-laws, let alone their own family. You know what I mean? Like having a good relationship with your family is one thing. Me, for instance, my family's 3,000 miles away. Our relationship is great because they're 3,000 miles away. If they were close, it probably would be a little more heated, right?
Yeah, I can see that.
But it's cool. So if you're in a position where you have a family and then it kind of gets rubbed the wrong way sometimes, bringing in someone else could only make that even more hotter.
Yeah, true.
You know, so I really appreciate, I mean, on both ends, like that. My family loves and adore you. My uncles are a trip. I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to your beautiful wife. Like, I love you too, Unc. Like,
and you know, and that was very different for me as well, because I come from a very female driven family, and you come from nothing but men. So then being around them and being around all the guys, it was like, oh, this is going to be different. But I love all of them, and they embrace me, and I can call and talk to any of them, birthdays, holidays, whatever it is, and they pull me in with open arms, and I love it.
That's true, and you know, to be honest, and this is not my first family, right? So I was married before I came out of, like we've talked about before, I came out of a divorce, and then we got together, and that was different. That was different all the way around. I could tell you it was weird. It's like night and day. So that's why I'm saying when it comes to the in-laws, like the in-laws on that side, we didn't get along. Yeah. You know, we had moments where it was like, yo, let's take this outside. And I mean, and this was in New York. So in New York, take it outside is a totally different ball game. You know what I mean? It's like, we're not only taking it outside, but somebody might get dumped down the incinerator. For those that don't know what an incinerator is, it's a big trash can in the projects where you put your trash down and it goes down to the dumpster.
Oh, I'm glad that you're not with that family anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. So you know, ego is everything when you go into meeting a family, right? That's ego is everything. So if you remove the ego, and I'm talking about me at first, like how you said, you know, everybody's telling you these stories, and you know, you're going in with the perception of everybody else. But instead of going in with zero perception, no thoughts, no expectations, you kill your own ego in the process, everything would tend to work out. Would you agree?
Yes, definitely would agree. And my final thought would be that we should always have an open mind and be ourselves around everybody, no matter what, right? So like you said, if in the beginning I would have had some kind of an ego, presented myself as something different, or did this kind of peacock, oh, I'm this or that, you know, then it would have, they would have looked at me differently. But I was myself. Now, don't get me wrong. If that's how you are, then people will love you like that, because that's the way that you are. But that's my final thought, is just to be yourself.
That's very true. And as men, you know, we always play a role in our families, especially with daughters. I mean, even today, I had a young kid come in, and I had to play the role like, don't mess with me, I got a gun. You know, as a man, we always we have to play that lion, right? And so as long as we kill that self out, you know, that inner self of protection, and you know, don't let nobody else in, especially when it comes to another man, you know, I think we would be in a better place, a more humbling place, you know. So I love you.
I love you.
Me and you against the world, girl.
This is Life and Shit.
Life and Shit.
Danielle and Tommy.